AirTrain. With the full price fares now back for AirTrain, there has never been a better time to look for an alternate journey. Now unfortunately, alternate trips to the airport are quite difficult. There is a way from the city, it's the very classic, you get the train to Toombul, 590 to Skygate, then the airport's dedicated shuttle bus to the airport. And while this will do the job of getting into the airport for 50 cents, it does take quite a bit longer to the train. But what if there was a way to beat the train to the airport? Well, today we're going to be looking at just that. Now there is a catch. To do this, you have to start from the Cleveland line, a line that beautifully hugs the coastline and the river. By the way, the average distance of all the stations on the Cleveland line from Railway Street to Cleveland, 1.5 kilometers from either the ocean or the Brisbane River. This means that any travel from the Cleveland line to the city or to the airport involves a long trip down the coast, down to the city along the river, and you have to go back up to the airport. So this is where today's alternate journey begins. Not starting in the city, but starting at Murarrie on the Cleveland line, getting the Great Circle line, the 598, across the river, transferring to the 590, then doing the normal trip to the airport that you would do from Toombul, just starting a little bit later at Murarrie Road. I'll explain more about the trip itself during the video, but if you wish to attempt this yourself, make sure to double check the timetable, and also it only really works from the east side of the city. But for now, let's check it out. Starting at Murarrie, we walk down, transfer from the train to the bus. Now for this route to work, you do need to keep a close eye on the schedule because the Great Circle line is not an amazing route. As you can see, we're currently going across the river on the Gateway Bridge, which completes the main portion of the trip and why this service is so viable in competing against the train in the first place. Instead of travelling all the way to the city, you just cut across the river, saving a bunch of time. A shuttle bus to the airport runs every half an hour and terminates at 6 PM. Make sure you double check when you're getting the Great Circle line if you are going to attempt this shortcut. If you aren't starting directly from the Cleveland line, perhaps you're starting from the eastern suburbs like around the Cannon Hill area, you can go straight onto the 590. Just do keep in mind that it doesn't go direct to Skygate, it does have a couple of small detours, but this should still fare better than having to get yourself to the train line and still going around to the city, back up to the airport. Also worth mentioning that the Skygate shuttle bus is direct from the domestic airport to Skygate, not the other way around. The other way around, you have a local route through to international, then you get to the domestic airport. This means it's actually faster to go from domestic back to the east. Coming over what's left of the little train line to Pinkenbach, just driven off in the distance. We've now made it to the north side as we proceed to where we'll transfer from the Great Circle line to the 590 for one stop. We've now reached a point where you are grateful that this is both faster and cheaper than the train, as otherwise it would not be worth it to have to come through here, as this is not a pedestrian friendly space to be. Just to do the transfer you have to deal with 3 separate traffic light cycles. It is by far the worst transfer you'll have to deal with on this route. But thankfully, you're saving a little bit of money and some time as well. And with a relatively short wait, we now continue on our trip to Skygate. 590 is here. If you've come from the city, you would have boarded this bus at what is left of Toombul Shopping Centre. And by what is left is just the bus station now. It's always a way to look at. Now this is where we get to the caveats of this being faster than the train. If you got on the train that came before the bus, you would have gotten to the airport before I got there. However, the train after I left Murarrie connects you to the airport after I arrived, so the bus still does win. But obviously, I had a little bit of an unlucky transfer at Skygate. When I got to Murarrie Road, I had about 3 minutes till a bus to the airport left Skygate. That's not enough time to walk, hence why did the transfer to the 590. If we just nudged the red circle line to Skygate, I would have very easily have made that transfer, and that would have knocked half an hour off my trip to the airport. That would be well and truly faster than getting the train in the other direction. As with the Skygate bus being direct from domestic to Skygate, you could potentially save up to an hour if this small change was made. Now there's many improvements that could be made. We could, for one, stop having it be that only the Brisbane Airport Corporation are providing a bus service that connects to the airport to the outside world, but resolving that issue is a whole different can of worms that goes beyond this video. Now reaching Skygate, we see our old trusty 590 depart. This one takes some interesting back roads as it loops around the Eagle Farm and heads back across the Gateway Bridge that we were just on earlier. Having a bit of a longer wait than planned at Skygate, I was able to treat myself to a walk around the area and a nice view of the airport line. Now the bus to the airport is quite fascinating. It's a 3-door rigid electric bus. Not something you see every day. And now we continue the final leg of our trip to domestic airport. As I mentioned earlier, the route from Skygate to domestic airport is longer than domestic airport to Skygate. This means that the train had the best chance it had in this video to perform better than the bus. And even with the worst case scenario, the slowest possible route during the shortcut, it was still better to get this than to wait for the next train. Going back the other way, why would you even bother with the train in the first place? Unless of course, you know, you have a lot of suitcases and you live next to the train line. In that case, I can't understand you don't want to transfer more than once. But if you're on foot, you got carry-on, this is perfectly a valid route from domestic airport back over to Murarrie or anywhere else on the east side. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in seeing a video where I delve more into the Great Circle Line and how I think it should be fixed. And I won't just say increase frequency. That is one of the obvious answers, but there's more that can be done to make the route a lot better and a lot more useful. If you had caught the train that left before my bus, that would have connected you to the above train, so congrats. Now that means that because this is peak hour, the train that we're racing is 15 minutes behind us. You get that train, turn it to that airport train, and the bus will win. Of course, we're travelling on off-peak. You wouldn't have even had the option for a 15-minute later train, so then the bus would win even more comfortably in this scenario. Also less of a chance of there being a train that would overtake you. And in the end, I did have a bad transfer for the bus at Skygate. If I had gotten a better transfer, probably could have beaten that train as well. And going in the other direction, I absolutely would have beaten that train. I actually love that view of the city, it's actually so nice. Now we proceed for the last section of the trip. We have left International Airport and we are now heading to our destination at Domestic Airport. This will see us arrive at the airport a little bit beforehand of the train that we were racing in this scenario. Of course, the bus and train didn't leave at exactly the same time. The bus did have a good 10-minute head start, but we well and truly arrived with a good enough time to beat that. And that's the trip. We've arrived at Domestic Airport, the bus continues back to Skygate, and there's the train coming in, the train that we were racing, arriving after we had arrived at the airport. So if you're in the eastern suburbs and you want a shortcut to the airport, maybe this is the way for you to go. Thanks for watching.